Another thing that you do that's outside traditional printmaking is that you mount these prints to canvas, and then you pour a thick coating of this substance called Ro-Plex. You pour it on very thick, and it can take several weeks to dry. I know from experience we were kind of hoping that they would dry in time for the opening of the exhibition, because they're milky until they dry, and then the image sort of magically slowly appears, as the Ro-Plex becomes transparent. But what brought you to use Ro-Plex in these works?
For the most part, prints on paper need to be framed. So the reality is I didn't want to frame these pieces so big. Mounting them on canvas and coating them with Ro-Plex makes them more of a mixed media project, and they're pretty indestructible now. If it was paper mounted, any kind of mark or touch could alter the image. Now they're permanent. Also, in pouring that thick coat of Ro-Plex, it gives kind of a depth to these images. And at some point, the Ro-Plex itself cracks and becomes textured in some way that, again, it goes back to a little bit out of my control, and I love that. It adds something to the image that I couldn't have planned. And especially for these images, the cracks and gouges to me kind of symbolize life on the street.
Yeah, I know that traditional printmakers are they'd probably be horrified by some of your techniques, but they're certainly effective, and the cracking in particular, is, it really looks marvelous the way it enhances that weather-beaten, sunburned look. It's really beautiful. I alluded earlier to the fact that we were exhibiting two distinctly different series of works, or bodies of works. One is the Homeless series, and the other is an abstract series of figures that appear to be based in German Expressionism. Now, I know that you exhibited in Germany, you lived in Europe, and that the German Expressionists were very progressive in their use of woodcut. How did you actually become involved with doing woodcuts?
Little history of mine. I went to San Diego State and studied printmaking there. I didn't do woodcuts, I did etchings and silkscreen. After San Diego State, I went to Art Center, College of Design, and I had a class there that we were given an open project, so I decided to do a woodcut. So that was my first exposure to carving wood, and I was literally hooked from then on. Most every project that I did was a woodcut after that. The German Expressionist was definitely influenced the work, and that they made use of woodcuts in their art great deal. Very powerful images, and for the most part not super realistic, which I was drawn to kind of the more primitive imagery. So they were quite an influence at one point, for sure. Yeah.
Now, there was one art teacher in particular who was very influential on you in your woodcut endeavors. Who was that?
Bern Hogarth was his name. He's passed away. He was the original Tarzan comic book illustrator. His books are in all the art stores now. Dynamic Anatomy, kind of very muscular figures in various poses. Very interesting fellow, very well-read, very demanding teacher. He's one of maybe 5 or 6 teachers throughout my education that come to mind. Another Dwight Harmon was another teacher up there, was the first that kind of got me steered towards carving in plexiglass. He was one that would say experiment and try everything. So those two individuals, I think, were very important in my work, for sure.
Are these figures drawn from the model as in a studio life drawing situation, or are they imagined?
They are drawing from memory, not from life. I've taken many life drawing classes. I teach life drawing, constantly studying the figure, studied anatomy in college. All of that is kind of given me the ability to draw the figure, but to abstract the figure as well. If I wanted to draw the figure real, I have the ability to do that, and do from time to time, but my interest is in abstracting the figure.
We've already discussed some of the advantages and disadvantages and similarities and dissimilarities between plexiglass prints and woodcut prints. Do you have a preference for one medium over the other?
Not really. When each project is different, and I kind of decide from there. The abstract figures for the most part of the show, all but two, are carved in wood. Part of the reason, when I carve in plexiglass, I'll do a drawing, and since it's clear, I can put it behind the plexiglass to carve it. The wood, it's pretty direct on the wood. I either have to transfer a drawing, or in this case, my method is to draw the figures, actually to paint the figures with either an ink or watered down paint. So I try and get as spontaneous and liquid shapes as possible. And then I try and carve them as accurately as I can. They don't come out looking liquid. They are what they are, but they have a very interesting quality to me that's not super direct and hard-edged. Again, wood blocks, it's all black or white. It's nothing but edge. There's no soft gradations here, so anything that appears to be gradated means it's just fewer lines or more lines with more spaces, if that makes any sense. So trying to capture the fluid quality of paint in a carving is kind of that's my interest in these carvings, as well as trying to capture a figure, or the feeling of a figure.
You are on the art faculty of San Diego State, which is my old alma mater as an art major. What do you teach?
I teach drawing and illustration. It is my alma mater too, which I'm proud to say, and I'm actually teaching in a room that I took class in, so it's a great feeling for me. I teach drawing and illustration, and it's an upper division course in the graphics department, and it's really a lot of fun. It's very rewarding for me. Some of the students and faculty there are great. Some of the students I met there, some fantastic individuals, and very inspiring for me to see and be around these people creating work and being involved in work on a daily basis, artwork on a daily basis. It's fantastic.
You also teach art downtown. Do you teach the same subjects downtown that you teach out at San Diego State?
No, downtown at the Academy of Art, I teach life drawing, figure model drawing. And that's to the student body there is mostly professionals, people that come from work or live in the downtown area. So it's a little bit different student body there, but also very rewarding.
Yeah, I experienced the same thing when I went back for my master's degree, that just the academic environment is an amazing, energetic place, and you mingle with some of the greatest minds, in the city or the United States or the world,
and an opportunity for people to express themselves that they might never get again in their life. That should be the most open environment for ideas, and nothing is taboo in my class. Now there's some images that come through the class from time to time that I won't show or I won't put up, but I encourage them to do anything that they can, anything they want. That's the time to do it.
To refresh our memories, do you want to take me through the sequence of what your formal art education was? What institutions again?
San Diego State.
Okay.
I studied painting and printmaking.
Okay.
And then I went to Art Center College of Design up in Pasadena, where I got my BA in art, in emphasis in illustration.
Over the years, as we've already discussed, you've had a very successful career in graphic design and illustration, but you also do painting, which we haven't talked about. Tell us about your painting.
I started my fine art with printmaking. That was throughout my college. I was doing printmaking. In maybe 93, 94, I kind of put the printmaking aside for a while and really dove into painting. I had been exposed to some painting techniques in college through an instructor that I had mentioned earlier, Dwight Harmon, who is very experimental, and took off from there. The imagery when I started my painting was actually derived from some of these prints that are in this room here. I wanted to have a subject matter. The figure seemed appropriate, and this figure that I've been working on just seemed to be the perfect match. So most of my paintings in the beginning were figurative, abstract figurative, but also I've explored a lot of abstract imagery. So in the last 10, 15 years, painting has been my focus, although in the last several years, it's come back to printmaking again. Throughout that time, I've been printmaking, but for the most part, when I went to the studio, it was to paint.
Since you're a teacher and so attuned to the younger generation, you do have children as well. Do you have any words of wisdom for up-and-coming younger artists?
Well, I would say go to New York, being one. After graduating from Art Center, I lived in New York for a period of time, and the energy and just the art scene there is incredible. I give words of wisdom to my students all the time that, again, some probably go in one ear out the other. I would say work your tail off, bottom line. If I have somebody with a lot of talent come to me, somebody that's a hard worker, I'm taking the worker every time. Talent is useless unless it's work. Now, if you have both those things, you got the world. But somebody who's a worker will find a way to make it happen. So I would say work as hard as you can on something you love to do. I mean, that's what I tell my children. Whether or not it's in art or business, whatever it is, if you can, I'm lucky to have found something I love to do. Whether or not I encourage my children to be artists, I'm not sure. If they want to, I'll encourage them. But if you find something you love to do, on top of all that stuff, well, life can be pretty fascinating.